This is Randy Rosetta with HubCityPreps.com with the video edition of the Tiger Tracks podcast sponsored by Southwest Bank. I'm with Simpson, who I think has finally recovered physically. Noah, you had to play a lot of snaps too, but defensive snaps are a little bit different than.
Yeah, they are.
Noah Ingram and Simpson, two of Frenship's players, back at it at practice after a entertaining but tough to take 48-46 loss to Byron Nelson. Guys, I just spent some time with Coach talking about the things you take away from that. You guys wanted to win the game. I don't think that's rocket science to figure that out. But Noah, what do you guys take away from that kind of game against a really good team out of the Metroplex to start your season?
Yeah, I think we just proved to ourselves and to everybody else that we can play with anybody. Because like a team like Byron Nelson, very respected, not just in DFW, but like in the whole state of Texas. So for us to be able to play as well as we did, and I think we just proved that we can really play with anybody.
HUD, and I would mention this to the coach, people were probably going to grumble about the defense giving up a lot of yards, a lot of points, giving up a touchdown late, but to me, this prepares you for the rest of the season because you get into your district season, you're going to be playing 6A dudes with intentions to try to do the same thing, try to put up a lot of yards, a lot of points. As much as it stings, what did you guys learn defensively against Byron Nelson that you think you can build off of?
First of all, we're in a lot better shape. And second of all, Byron Nelson had a lot of formations that were kind of new to us, and we kind of just got into it. And just the hidden aspect of it, they were a physical team. And so, they're a physical team, so it's really going to prepare us for down the road.
And I'm going to guess, with all due respect to the Midland Legacies and Odessa Permians of the world and Midland Highs, I should say that because they had a pretty decent opening week, is that you're not going to see a better bunch of athletes all season long, maybe until you get to the playoffs, because everything I've heard about Byron Nelson is they had to replace a lot of guys, kind of like the Frenship Tigers, but replace them with some pretty talented, good athletes. How eye-opening was that to start the season to see guys like that and to kind of lay a foundation for the rest of this year?
Well, as you said, they had a bunch of guys. They lost a bunch of seniors, but they had guys willing to step up and take the seniors' role. So, we thought we were prepared. We didn't come out on top, and we surely grow from this.
That's a good transition because Noah, you're one of the guys for Frenship who were one of the guys that stepped up, elevated into a new role with this team. Holden is the one who's going to get a lot of the attention when you throw for 500 yards. That happens. But the offense, even though the offense is the same offense, a lot of new faces around the guys that everybody's familiar with, the Leighton Stones and Chase Campbells of the world. What was your assessment of how the offense did with some new guys stepping into bigger roles?
I thought we were really good. We, like you're saying, with a bunch of new guys, it's easy to come in timid and to not really be confident. But we worked so hard this summer, and running routes with each other, going over play concepts. We planned for Byron Nelson for a long time, so even though we were new, that we didn't come into it shy. We knew what the job was, and we came into that game ready to win. I think that made a huge difference in how well we played.
I'm not going to claim to be the first or the only one who said this, but Leighton Stone's going to get a lot of attention, and he did from Byron Nelson. Chase is going to get a lot of attention. To me, that makes the third, fourth, fifth options on every play for Holden that much bigger. You were one of those guys. How did Holden kind of adapt to that situation? Obviously, he did okay, but getting the ball to you, other guys other than the marquee guys, how big a key was that?
Yeah, it was huge because, like you said, Leighton and Chase are phenomenal players, and so they're going to naturally attract a bunch of defenders, and that causes guys like me and Maverick and Hayden to step up and make plays when it's our turn. And Leighton and Chase are going to make their plays. We all know that, but when they don't get the ball, it gives us a chance to make plays and help our team do well.
Back to you, HUD. Defensively, you guys, it may be a little bit different this week against Wichita Falls Memorial, but as Coach mentioned just a minute ago, a lot of guys from the Rider program are in that program, and that they've been known for the last several years for, I believe there's a couple guys that played out here Saturday at Jones Stadium from Wichita Falls Rider. What do you have to do now to adjust, first of all mentally, to kind of flush away what happened and be ready, but what do you have to do well against them?
They're winners. They want to win. And we want to win just as bad as them. And so it just comes down to who wants it more, who does the simple things better, who does the fundamentals. And so, I mean, but I guess what we got to do is just hit, swarm the ball, do what we do, play our defense.
It wasn't all negative for the defense against Byron Nelson. You guys did some good things, had a really good first quarter, especially when they couldn't move the ball on you. What were some things that you liked about what you guys did?
Our chemistry, we work really well together, and we all run the ball. Like, we feel like we run the ball like no one's ever seen before. And so we get a lot of compliments on the coaches from that too. And so I think we do that well.
I know one picture that we ran on the website was of the freshman Gunner. He introduced himself to the quarterback pretty early in the game. That group has to kind of keep growing and keep developing, but what did you like about what the big defensive linemen did?
They put their butts off, man. They were down in the trenches. You know, we got a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and some linebackers too, like linebackers coming off the edge. And they just did a great job getting the quarterback.
I'm going to flip that to the same thing. The offensive line had to have had a pretty decent night if Holden had that much time to do what he did. Noah, what did the offensive line show to you against Byron Nelson that encouraged you?
Yeah, I mean, they played great. They're one of the position groups that had a bunch of new faces as well and younger guys. So I was very impressed with them. I mean, it's no surprise to me. I mean, I knew how good they were, but to come out, first varsity games against a team like Byron Nelson is very impressive the way they did it. Gave Holden a bunch of time.
One thing about high school football is resiliency. You better have some. No matter win or lose, you got to come back ready. And you guys showed last year when you lost the 2 district games to start that you had that resiliency. Had you been around for a while, this team, just listening to you guys this morning, there's not a lot of heads hanging. You guys are ready to get back to work. That resiliency that you showed last year, how much is that carried over, and how big is that now as you start moving into the meat of the season?
I mean, yeah, we got a bunch of guys returning from last year. A bunch of guys that weren't necessarily leaders last year. They're stepping up and getting that leadership role. And so I think they know what we went through last year, and they're trying to teach the young guys, like, hey, like it happens, move on. Next week, it can only go one game at a time. Gotta flush it, gotta move on.